What's up, Philadelphia? My name is Coach Buchanan, and welcome to Youth Uncut. Youth Uncut is a show that gives youth a voice and allows them to discuss the things that mean most to them. This is the Focus Youth Network. The Focus Youth Network is a nonprofit organization that provides innovative educational and recreational activities for youth and their families centered around three main pillars: wellness and nutrition education, character development, and post-secondary success. I'm excited to talk about our topic today, generational wealth. And today, I would like to introduce our three guests. To my right, I have Anya Philogene, we have Sanaya Coleman, and Hayla Ryans. Today, we're talking about generational wealth because those of you who may have watched our last episode on entrepreneurship, we believe generational wealth, also generational poverty, is something that we really need to discuss and really try to equip our young people with the knowledge they need to break that cycle. And so let's just get right into it, because I know y'all are well-read, well-studied young women who have just a lot of opinions. And so I want to get into this idea of generational wealth. So for those of us who might not know what generational wealth is, in your own layman's terms, just keeping it simple for our kids out there, what is generational wealth? Who wants to tackle this question? What's generational wealth?
I would say,
Go ahead.
I would say it's having money or different assets or anything passed down through generations so that the next generation will be more well off than you were.
Good. So it's having money, or AKA assets, that are passed down from generation to generation to accumulate wealth and really just financial stability in your home and in your family. But for some reason, this generational wealth, and I actually talked about this today in class and some of the issues that kind of plague our community, but why has generational wealth kind of eluded our community? And I guess to answer that question, we have to talk about some of the symptoms of what we believe to be generational poverty.
For one, I feel like we lack the resource or the education.
So we got resources, education.
Your mindset.
Yeah,
Okay.
so they might be like scared to take that risk.
Okay.
That's the big one.
Okay.
Or
And we'll go in depth in more of these and kind of talk, but we got education, we have mindset. What else can be things?
or even the extra money to not play around with, but to do this extra thing.
Okay, so it might be, what do they call that? Not extra. It's not extra money. It's I forget what they call it when dispendable cash or dispendable income. Expendable income, I think it is, or dispendable income it is. Yeah. So thinking about like how our communities have chosen to use their income, whatever income they have, whether it is a six-figure doctor job, or you're making minimum wage working at a local fast food restaurant, whatever it is. I think that when we talk about the first thing, I would love for us to talk about the mindset of our community and what leads us to having this generational poverty over time. And first, I even think about just my students. What type of mindsets are developed in schools that kind of lead to this?
I would say, like, just in general, you're basically taught to, go to school. And when you go to school, you're taught to, like, be, like, the highest student in the class. Or then when you have a job, you're taught to move up and be a manager. And then after that, you'll be, you're still working for somebody else. So you can't create any generational wealth because you're just excelling in the job that you have, but it's nothing that is creating wealth for your family.
Okay. So I think it's the usage of the job that you might have, because I do believe you can create some wealth, but it depends on how do you use the money that someone's paying you to then make that money work for you. Right, and so that is mindset first. Do you have anything that you want to add on? And I'll continue to talk about it, but
About mindset?
Yeah, just about mindset of kids. Like maybe you see kids in your school that you're like, hey, like, come on.
It is the mindset, and it's always we want to, like right now, everybody wants to buy the designer shoes or something that's completely worthless instead of you'll get $900 to buy a designer shoe, but you won't invest that $900 in whatever you could or even save it. So I think it's all about like our age, and we want to stay into what's trendy.
More like society. Like I feel like when you like social media is the basic way that people get this, like, oh, I have to look like this, or oh, I have to get this, or I have to have that, just because that's what everyone is saying, but nobody's really looking into like, oh, I can use this money to do this. They don't see too many, or people don't really look into a lot of entrepreneurs that are really using what they have.
Yeah. Let me ask you it's a yes or no question. Is buying Jordans wrong?
No.
This is what you asked in class. That's what I was about to talk about.
You about to talk about? Let's talk about it then. Let's go.
So it's like when you were comparing buying regular sneakers to buying a really expensive brand sneaker and what would be better. And we all were saying, well, some people were saying people buy the regular sneakers because they just need something on their feet. But others were saying they would buy the more expensive sneakers. And then we started comparing why. So it was better because, well, people buy branded sneakers because of what other people have and think about it. So like they want to fit in. And if they don't fit in, then they feel like they have to do something to make themselves fit in. So they try to buy the designer stuff that other people have so they could feel popular and stuff. So when we were talking about that, it was like we had to think about it.
And I think there's these things that I start to think about. So the first thing that I think about is this idea of self-efficacy. Y'all know what that is? So self-efficacy is how you feel about yourself or how you view yourself. So it's, a synonym could be, self-confidence, things like that, but it's really how you feel about yourself, okay? So everyone in the world, doesn't matter who you are, wants to feel a sense of belonging. You want to feel as good about yourself as you can.
Okay.
Now, some people have the ability to do that in other ways versus some other people. And so today I challenged the class. I said, some people are academically inclined. So when they come in school, they have the opportunity to feel good about themselves. How? By getting good grades,
on the test.
right? But what happens if you don't view yourself as a scholar or somebody who wants to seek out knowledge, and then when you get to school, you aren't successful, but you still want that feeling of self-efficacy. So where do you get it? Well, you can get it from
a shoe,
a shirt, exactly, right? And so now it's, well, what about the people who want that feeling of self-efficacy but don't have the income to match what they want, right? Because it's based off of social media, it's based off of societal norms, all those things. And so when you have a kid who's going to school every single day and he sees other people around him or her who seem to be successful, they feel good about themselves and they're wearing a certain clothing, ultimately they're going to want to do the same thing. And so that leads to poor decisions and a poor mindset, which leads to other things in your life. You have poor spending habits and things like that because it's not based off of you, it's based off of other people. And so we're tackling this idea of mindset. Now we have this, okay, I've been to school, I've kind of seen that in action a little bit, but how does that lead to generational poverty though? That's the thing that we have to understand. How does that lead to generational poverty? How can your mindset as a 8th grader or even as a senior lead to generational poverty down the line?
Okay. So if, as a parent, my kid she got this, he got that, and as a parent, you want your kid to fit in, you want your kid to be feel like everyone else. Exactly. So I might go spend my last on the pair of shoes that everyone has when I really don't have it. So it's just like, how many times am I going to spend my last for my child until I realize, wow, this money could be put somewhere else. So then you start to work.
Yeah.
Overwork yourself.
Yeah, you just start to work just to make sure your kid fits in with everyone else.
Yeah. I mean, you understand it.
Yeah.
Y'all, I mean, you couldn't have said it any better. I'm going to cut that out, clip that, put that right on Instagram because you said it exactly how I would imagine that goes. You know, I always said I say to my students, my parents, I didn't get my first pair of $100 sneakers until I was a senior in high school.
Don't forget, it was a different time.
Well, so most sneakers are $100 now?
Yeah.
Yeah, now almost every shoe.
Shoe is literally,
Yeah.
nothing is below $100, I feel like, unless you're a
Yeah.
small size.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think it's wrong. It's not wrong to buy Jordans or to buy that designer shoe, but I think we should be more mindful of where we're putting our money because it's just like certain things won't add value to you. You can get a pair of Jordans, but do you really need 2 pairs?
Yeah.
So then it's like we just should be mindful of what we're doing with our money.
Yeah.
And it's more like in our era, it's more like, oh, spend your money. Like everybody thinks that, like even I see it on Instagram, a lot of people say I should be rich because I have rich people habits because they spend a lot of money.
that's
But
not rich
that's
people.
not even true. Rich people don't spend all their money. They invest their money. They save their money. So that doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah.
So it's just like you should really think about what you're, like if you think that you're going to keep spending your money and that's going to make you rich, that's nothing. That's not going to help you be rich at all. You have to actually think about saving your money because you're going to keep spending it.
Yeah. Hayla, do you follow me on Instagram?
Yes.
Did you see my post that I posted the other day about rappers? It had all the different colors and stuff. You might not have seen it. So I had posted this thing that said, we have rappers who are making millions of dollars and spending and buying $1 million houses, $2 million planes and all this stuff, but won't build $1 million school. Yeah. And so, you know, when I think about, you know, Powerhouse that just happened, right? And I'm on social media. I follow a lot of what my students are following so I can stay hip to what's happening and stuff like that. And a lot of the students were talking about the baby specifically. And a lot of people were talking about buying a particular clothing line specifically to go out to Powerhouse, right? And so then I started to think, and as much as I support the winners in our community and the people who are investing in themselves, it's investing yourself to have your own clothing line. But then when people go out and spend their last on your clothing line, then I kind of wonder, right? And it's not that that's your fault. It's not that it's your fault. Sometimes I wonder about the promotion that happens behind certain people who have influence and how they promote themselves and how it affects our culture. Those are the things that I sometimes worry about.
Yeah, I feel like in our era, it's more so about looking better, but having nothing. So it's like you're surrounded by everybody, and everybody looks good, but then when you get to know you, you're like,
You're not good.
you're not as well as you
don't
say
got
that
it.
you are. You don't
Yeah.
have it as much as you say that you are. So as far as the Powerhouse situation, that is like actually true. Like I've seen so many people just be like, oh, I'm just gonna go buy this. And it's like your whole outfit costs maybe like $1,000, but you don't even dress like that every day. You don't wear that every day. Your parents can't afford that every day. So it's like, why just do it for one day for everybody else to see? Some people even say it's a fashion show, and I don't even think that's okay.
At all. And it's the culture, right? And I hate to blame certain things on the culture, right? Like, I'm an African-American male, and it took me a long time to love being an African-American male. I struggled with that for a long time in my life. But at the same time, I struggle sometimes with embracing what people say. What people say is our culture, right? Those are the things that I really struggle with because, you know, ultimately, you guys are the next generation. You're sitting here with the understanding, like, yeah, I'm gonna have to be a little bit smarter about what I'm doing with my own money. And we've talked about the symptoms, right? We talk about the mindset. and you see in your own class how people, choose the beliefs of others over themselves, right? But you also mentioned something, talk about parents, right? And how parents at times are complicit
Yep.
in those same errors of spending their last, right? One criticism I've always had is I've always thought that parents should share a little bit more about their own personal experiences and the things that they went through, so that students, or not students, but kids don't make the same mistakes, right? Why do you think parents don't share about the mistakes or maybe the big things that they've done?
Because they don't want their children to turn out how they were. Or just to know that information, like, oh, what I don't want you to do, even though I may have did it, I don't want you to do it, so I won't tell you that I did it.
Yeah.
So,
Or maybe that's the norm. Like they saw their parents do it.
Oh.
So it's just like I'm doing the same thing. And even with my parents, like as I look into business and money, like I see that the people with most money or most successful people have multiple sources of income. So even though both my parents went to college, but they're never going to see they're never going to have, they're never going to see as much money as they could see if they had another source of income or if they invested or whatever. So I think we need to push for multiple sources of income because college degree, you'll be well off. Doctor income, you'll be well off, but there's always a higher that you could get with another source.
I think, when I think about that, so, and you're right? Because I often think about, I had a conversation with one of my other students, and my dad always says to me, oh, you have another thing to do tonight? Or you're doing something else? You're going to run yourself into the ground. And my response is, wait, don't put your limitations on me.
Yes.
Right? Because these are the things that I'm going to do to set my daughter up so that she doesn't have to do it.
Exactly.
And so those are the things that I think are changing in our society now. Did our parents have access to the information that we have now, though?
No.
I don't think.
Because they were taught, go to school, go to college, and then get a good job that can, be good for your family. Nothing that'll just.
But why do you think they were taught that? Like, not everybody is taught that. I shared with my students, I had a friend named Chad, and we always made fun of him because his dad had his own business. We had no clue, like, oh wait, he's winning. Like, he's actually winning. We're like, yo, your dad's gotta go work for himself. Like, the joke's on us though. Like, what?
We're so used to the norm. We're so used to everybody waking up to go to work.
Yeah.
Waking up to work for somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do we, right now, and thinking about all the things, and even I tried to explain, and a lot of these things I do my best to try to explain, but this is also why we have, this show. I explained to my students today why my daughter won't have to worry about one day if I'm not here, right? Because of life insurance and things like that, which is a big part of generational poverty. A lot of people don't have life insurance.
Right.
They either don't have a job that provides them that life insurance,
Or they don't know to get it.
or they don't know to get it. So what happens when an emergency comes up and somebody passes away?
You got to take a loan for a funeral.
You got to take a loan for a funeral. You got to go on GoFundMe and ask for somebody else to pay for your baby's funeral, right? Because of decisions that we make. But you said something earlier. There are no more excuses, right?
Right.
There are no more excuses. You guys are equipped with the resources that you need to be able to make these changes. So what do you think, what kind of things are you going to do? What kind of things are you going to set up in your life? And I know that y'all said you've been reading about this, right? So what types of things are you going to do in your life knowing that you don't want to make the same mistakes? What are you going to do differently to ensure a change in your life? What do you think?
To begin, like starting even with college, I want to take as little loan out as possible. I want to invest some of my money and just be more I want to say like risky with what I'm
Yeah.
doing than what my parents are,
Okay.
and just have better spending habits.
And not be scared.
Yeah.
Because like most of the entrepreneurs, they weren't scared to go broke. They weren't scared to not have anything in their pockets. So, and that's how they got to where they were. So I feel like, you know, most of our parents, they're scared to not be able to say, oh, I don't have it, or I can't afford this. So they have to keep working and keep just doing the regular norm
Yeah.
in order to provide for their family.
Yeah. It does take us to invest in ourselves and to know, like, you know, we can. Anya, you got any thoughts about this generational wealth? Because you know, I've watched you excel in the classroom. I mean, you got a honor shirt on now. I've watched you excel on the sports field. And so you have a lot of skills that you can bring to our community, right? But at the same time, you have to, not just for your community, but for your own life. So what types of things like are you going to do to ensure your success moving forward, not just for you, but for your family?
I would like try to pass on whatever knowledge that I know and the stuff that I'm good at to them, so that they can try to be good at it too.
Yeah.
And help them more with what they don't understand.
Yeah. And you were very perceptive. You know, even on the way up here, you were talking about the times where you saw your aunt doing certain things and you were with her. And then those little things will stick in your head and provide a frame of reference for some of the goals that you have in your life, right? So we have a few minutes left, and I really want to talk about the things that we, and when I say we as kids, our community, right? Kids really struggle with motivation. We talked about that a little bit on the last episode, and how you guys are super motivated to pursue entrepreneurship, pursue your goals, pursue your dreams. Let me ask you this: why do you think kids? What is the biggest factor that prevents kids from wanting to learn and move forward in their own goals and dreams? Because you said yourself, you have YouTube, right? You have all these things. There's no reason. So why don't kids pursue these things?
They don't want to learn it. Like, they don't want to put in the time to learn this stuff.
Why?
Because nobody else is doing it. It's not the normal thing for a bunch of kids to, you know, look into their future and learn about entrepreneurship or creating generational wealth. So they won't do it. You kind of actually have to go out there for yourself and look for these type of resources.
But why aren't they doing it? Why don't
We're
they want
late.
to?
They're
We're all
lazy.
and nobody's telling us do this for a good grade. So we're not doing it because it's just not. We're not thinking long term. This will benefit me maybe 5 years from now. At this point in our everybody's just doing stuff for the grade. So if a teacher
But
is
you
not,
guys are, though, and I don't mean to cut you off, but you are. How did you get there? Because it's not a secret. It's not a trick. How did you, what was the point? What was the thing in your life that was like, yo, I got to know a little more?
for me,
Go ahead, Hayla, real quick.
For
Go ahead.
me, I really think it was me starting my business. Like, I would run into like all types of like different adults who are all doing different things, like different from my parents or like adults closer to me. So I saw different things and like different people reaching different goals. So
Yeah.
I guess it was like interesting for me. Not everybody goes to college and are successful.
Yeah. What about you? What do you got?
I pretty much already knew, like, I didn't want to work for nobody. I didn't want to, like, be under somebody else's, like, business. So being that I knew that I wanted to own my own business, it just, I don't know why I just keep saying this, but it's actually true. You just read. You start looking up stuff on your own, like, about this stuff, because my parents don't know nothing about it.
Yeah.
My mom, she's a nurse, so she just,
Yeah.
that's the normal thing. She doesn't think about having her own business.
Yeah.
So basically, you just have to go look for the resources yourself. And some things, you know, by networking, you'll just find different things like, oh, this happens, you know, this, you know, stuff like that.
What y'all think about throwing like a youth networking event? Like, and I don't want to just say networking, right? Because kids got to know how to network. You got to know what you need from someone else. But I think it's also about equipping them with the mindset, helping kids understand like, yo, if you guys want to get here, we can do this as a generation, right? What do y'all think about that? Would y'all, if I was like trying to put something together, would y'all hop on it?
Yeah, that would be dope.
I really do think we need to try to equip our young people with these skills. And I kept asking you why, because I think, you know, we see people like Spurgo, right? We see people out there who are doing it, who are motivating other people. But I think some kids also believe that when they only see one person succeeding, well, that success is just for them, right? And so I think they need to see that success has levels. You might not get to, you know, where he is or whatever, but you can take your steps to get to the life that you want to lead. And so I would love to take that on with you guys. We got about 30 seconds left.
I think a lot of kids don't think it's like true either. Like they think like it's a scam.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he's not really making that much money. Like this is not true. So they don't think that it's really possible.
Yeah, yeah. So guys, this was a great conversation. We had two great episodes. We were able to talk a lot about entrepreneurship and generational wealth. So I thank you guys. Guys, thank you for checking in to Youth Uncut and allowing us to equip our young people with the skills they need to make lasting change in their communities. This is Youth Uncut. My name is Coach Buchanan, and we'll be back soon.